Hello there and welcome back to another edition of the Hot Lap Classic Remastered. This time we're taking a look at the 1999 Tommykaira M13 Stage 2. Yeah, it's a Nissan Micra. That's what it is underneath this. It is a Nissan March, but it is the Tommykaira M13 Stage 2. And what did Tommykaira do? Well, they added a racing stripe and a massive ducktail spoiler that looks great, and then they ruined it by adding the most ridiculous front bumper I've ever seen on a car. It looks very surprised to see you. I mean, you see these things in real life, and even then, it still looks quite ridiculous. Just that giant gurning mouth on the front of the M13. I suppose it's quite cool in sort of retrospect. I mean, at the time, this was heinously ugly, and it still is. But obviously, it is quite cool. Fun fact as well, I believe later Tommykaira M13s were based on the Daewoo M13. There you go, there's some Googling you can do after this video. But no, the Tommykaira M13 Stage 2. I'd love to know what Stage 2 gets you compared to Stage 1. But nevertheless, here it is. Only comes in this one colour. Again, red with a white stripe, which is really all you need. Got some sort of cool looking steelies on it as well. Statistically, not quite as impressive as that Nissan March Super Turbo we had last time out. 185 horsepower, 763 kilos, so a little bit heavier, a little bit less power. Can this compete with the Nissan March G Sharp? That's the question. God, it sounds cool. Anyways, to find out how the Tommykaira M13 Stage 2 gets along, it is going to get 6 laps of the Motorsports Land track in order to set the best time it possibly can. I love that exhaust noise. It's like listening to gravel or like a really early V8 or something. Anyways, to find out how quick this is, it's going to get 6 laps on the Motorsports Land track. Currently it is the Suzuki Cultus Pikes Peak version. That car set a time of a 26.540. The Tommykaira M13, unlikely to beat that. In terms of where this is going to go, the March G Sharp currently sits quite pretty actually in 391st place with a 31.584. So that is the target time of the M13. I want to say this has slightly less power than a March does overall, and that the March also had the race mod as well, which this obviously doesn't. As much as it would have been cool to see a race modded Tommykaira M13 Stage 2, I'm assuming the they didn't want to completely make this car OP, Straight away, the one thing I will say that's definitely going for this car is the suspension on this is absolutely solid. Everything runs race suspension, but every car feels slightly different. Like that Micra felt a little bit looser. This feels hardcore over the bumps. Like, it's literally not even like fluctuating anywhere. It's like driving one of those big old Citroen barges with the hydropneumatic suspension, where it's just like not even moving over the bumps. Hydropneumatic. I don't know why I said that so weird. But yeah, it is cool. It makes no power whatsoever. That is the one thing I'm quickly realizing in this. There is no power. It is a 5-speed, so it is a manual. It just feels really long ratio. The worst bit is it's probably not. It probably might even be on shorter ratios than that Super Turbo was, but because of just the way it's got very little power compared to that Super Turbo, it does feel significantly slower. Yeah, it's not great, I'll be honest. It's a bit slidey on the limit. It's actual sort of, you get close to the peak power and you think it's really going to like start going, and it just doesn't. It is catastrophically slow. So I really stuck with second gear there, because apparently that is the quicker way through that corner. It's all about maximising the top end of the gears, and also it just slides out that corner as well, which is a bit bizarre, really. Yeah, it's a bit too, dare I say it, and looking at its gurning face, it is quite hard to believe it when I do say this. It's a bit too hardcore for its own good, this car. you know, the suspension is so hard that when you turn in the car into corners, you know, it almost feels like it's got to go through the rear end because there's not enough slack in the front suspension to make up with it, so it sends sort of all the jolts towards the rear. Does that make sense? Probably not. But that's sort of how it feels. It is, yeah, a bizarre thing to pilot. I don't particularly... I'll be honest, I didn't enjoy that. It doesn't drive very well. I mean, considering the amount of power it's got, it still didn't do too bad. It still beats quite a couple of interesting vehicles there. But, yeah, it's just not... I don't know. Considering how much of a shining star the March G and that Super Turbo we saw last time out are, it's a bit of a downgrade really on those two. So I'd probably suggest you go towards those unless you really can't live without that face. Anyways... The Tommykaira M13 Stage 2 is going to go into 31791. 791. It's going to go into 419th place. Goes in between the Nissan Stager RS4V and the Daihatsu Mira TR 4-wheel drive. It is quicker than the Toyota MR2 G Limited, the Lotus Elise Sport 135, Mazda Unos V Special, BMW 323Ci, a Silvia Case that ran really early on, and a Sprinter Treno. But it's right around this sort of low-powered front-wheel drive stuff. I mean, it's, you know, only slightly slower than the Ford Ka, and the Mazda Demio, the Toyota XYR Detroit Show version, Daihatsu Move. It's not that far off of like the Peugeot 306, and so on. So in terms of sort of like the low tier front wheel drive stuff, it's pretty good. I mean, it's nowhere near stuff like the Volkswagen Lupo, March Super Turbo, the Galanza, and of course the sort of king of those all, the Fiat Punto GT. But it's still not bad. I mean, it beats like a Mini Cooper and stuff like that, which is sort of what you'd cross shop this with, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's quite good relative to itself, but it's not very good compared to some of the other vehicles that you'd sort of cross shop with this with. Or no, it's not as good compared to how Marches usually are, but compared to the stuff you'd normally like associate with this, it's not too bad. Does that make sense? Probably not. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching. Join me next time when I'll be driving something completely different. Until then, farewell.